on this episode of American Travelers. Today we're in Boston, Massachusetts, the birthplace of America.
In the year 1620, the Pilgrims landed 40 miles south of Boston in the town of Plymouth. Even though they landed there, Boston was chosen to be the economic engine of New England.
Boston's deep-water harbor and royal backing with influential political sponsors were the reasons for not choosing Plymouth.
One of the most popular ways to see the history of Boston is to take a duck boat tour. We're excited to get aboard.
He's the guy from Night Rider. I'll be your conductor. Get it? Conductor? It's a ductor. It's told to say that. My name is Max Martial Arts. It's my real name. I'm a mixed martial artist. That's why I'm putting on these gloves. I got a Karate Kid headband. Got a Rocky IV robe or a Creed robe, depending on your pop cultural reference point. Never been in a real fight. Never competed at the All Valley Karate tournament. Never seen in California in 1984. Never thrown a punch. Never stuffed a leg. All I can do is duck. Safety is pretty straightforward. You just experience that. Just stay sit down. Don't put your arm, leg, head, or person next to you out the window. An elbow is fine. If you have a window seat. Not if you have an aisle seat. The person with the window seat will get upset. And don't smoke, it's addictive. So this tour today is all about freedom, fun, and first. Freedom, we're in the home of the American Revolution. First thing I'll tell you about is this vehicle we're on. It's called Red Sox Nathan. These are all based on World War II vehicles. They're not the originals. Those are old. These are new. The UKW is the manufacturer's code to military vehicles first produced by the General Motor Company in the 1940s. I'm going to crack that code wide open. D is the fourth letter of the alphabet. I googled it. It's true. These are all made in the fourth year of World War II, 1942. I asked Jeeves. He confirmed it. To the younger people, Jeeves was an internet butler from the 1990s. Look him up in your Encyclopedia Britannica. Only give them U, because they are utility vehicles for land and water both. K, because the letter K resembles the symbol for front-wheel drive on a car's dashboard. And W, because there were double rear axles in the back underneath is in the shape of a W. So when we get back from our tour, we're going to take turns going underneath that. I'll show you the W and how to change the oil. Or we can rotate the tires. Whatever the young people want to do. I believe the children are our future. So we'll quack occasionally, alright? But not yet. And sometimes people on the street will yell quack quack at us. Don't feel obligated to quack at them. You can give them a wave if you want to. Well, we have to quack whenever we see other vehicles like they look like us on the road. Because if we don't, I get an email saying that I'm not a team player. This was the first jail and the first court in the 13 colonies. Now, it's a construction site. I don't know what they're building. I'm hoping for an Arby's. Up ahead to the left is the oldest European burial ground in town. It's the King's Chapel burying ground. Mary Chilton, one of the first women to set foot in the New World off of the Mayflower, is buried here, as is our first colonial governor, John Winthrop. John Winthrop led the Puritans here from Boston, England, in search of religious freedom. And on your left, well, that's the first Church of England in the 13 colonies, so they followed him here. There's a bell in the tower that was made by Paul Revere. It was the last of his career as a bell ringer. When he was a young man, he was a bell ringer at the old North Church. Then he built bells. He had a copper company, which is still going to this day. It's now in the town of Rome, New York, however. It's important to note that when the Puritans came here in search of religious freedom, it's not that they were being oppressed by the Church of England. If anything, they thought the Church of England was not strict enough. So when they got here, they made it mandatory to go to church 3 times a week. The length of the service was 8 hours. You could not skip it. You were subject to arrest, and then you would have your head and hands put in the stocks all day. There's also someone whose job it was to have a long wooden pole, and if they were in the back of the meeting house, if you fell asleep, it would tap you in the back of the head to wake you up. Which was perhaps the most sought-after job amongst the Puritans, because if you fell asleep, no consequences. You're the one with the stick. It's the oldest hotel in the country. It's the Omni Parker House. The Omni Parker House, notable for so many reasons. There's been some famous people who have worked here throughout history. A man named Malcolm Little, who later changed his name to Malcolm X. And Ho Chi Minh was a pastry chef here before becoming the leader of communist Vietnam. This is where the Boston cream pie was created, the official dessert of Massachusetts. And the restaurant was the first in the nation to use printed menus. Prior to that, all digital. Over here on your left, this is the Tremont Temple Baptist Church. It's the first integrated church in the United States, welcoming anybody who wanted to join through their doors. Cemeteries are owned land, burial grounds, and public lands. So you see all the tombstones are really close to each other. They're all bunched up. Whereas in a cemetery, you have to purchase a plot, and they're laid out in an orderly fashion. Burial grounds are not like that. That green headstone, that's Samuel Adams' grave, the leader of the Sons of Liberty. He's one of 3 signers of the Declaration of Independence, buried here. The 5 victims of the Boston Massacre are laid to rest here as well. That's where Benjamin Franklin's brother James and their parents are laid to rest. Benjamin is buried in Philadelphia. He moved there after he had a big fight with his brother James to stop getting along. So where do you go when you don't get along with your brother in Boston? The city of brotherly love. Paul Revere is buried here next to both of his wives. He wasn't married to both at the same time. First wife passed away following the birth of their 8th child. He got remarried several weeks later. He waited. His second wife also gave birth to 8 kids. He had 16 children, 80 grandkids, which is a lot of names and birthdays for him. Quack quack is right, you got it. Don't tell me what to do. Over here on the right is the Park Street Church. It's where the first anti-slavery speech was delivered by William Lloyd Garrison. Up the street to the right is the Gold Dome of the State House, as it overlooks the Boston Common. This is where the Freedom Trail begins. It's a 2.5-mile walk through our history. You can do it on your own by following a red line on the ground, or hire somebody in a colonial outfit to take you through it. But in my opinion, who would want to learn about history from someone in a ridiculous costume? On the right is the Wilson Street T station. The T, that's our subway system. Boston had the first subway system in America. Really have to emphasize the word system, because New York City had the first subway car, but they didn't have the tracks, which you need the tracks to move the subway cars. On the left is the Wilbur Theater. That's where Marlon Brando got paid to act for the very first time in A Streetcar Named Desire. Over here on your left, this is New England Law Boston. They opened up in 1908 as the Portia School of Law. They were the first law school to allow only women to enroll and earn a degree. I thought about going to law school. It was either law school or a tour guide school. And let's just say one was more expensive, and that's the one I chose. That's how I became a tour guide. It was the best $90,000 I ever spent. So this block that we're on is where Edgar Allan Poe was born, the famous writer of The Raven, The Telltale Heart, Mask of the Red Death. We'll see his statue on the right. Over here on your left is Boston Public Garden, the oldest public botanical garden in its original location in America. Speaking of bars, we're going to see a famous bar just down the street to the right. It's a famous bar from TV. Now kids, TV stands for television. It's a place called the Bull and Finch Pub, but most people remember it as Cheers. So Cheers was a big hit comedy show from the 1900s. And once a year, they would bring the whole cast and crew over here to film all the outside scenes. If you went downstairs, underneath these white awnings on your right, it doesn't look like Cheers does on TV. But upstairs, they have a replica bar. But they already know your name. And now, I was glad you came. All the kids sing it. You want to be where people are 5. See that? Say, Alexa, I want to watch Cheers. Then my mother throws a remote control in my head. She says, I'm your mother. Don't use my first name. Here's the clicker. Do it yourself. You're 38. When are you moving out? That's an old joke. I moved out 2 weeks ago. I live in the garage now. Not above the garage, in the garage. Which is annoying because she still parks her car there. And she warms it up in the morning. And now I get headaches.
We're in a Bostonian neighborhood and we're at the Cheers Tavern.
You could take a free tour of the Massachusetts State House. Cornerstone of the building was laid by Samuel Adams and Paul Revere. It was pulled up Beacon Hill by 15 white horses, represented the original 13 colonies of the 2 newest states, Vermont and Kentucky. A couple of notable statues in front of the State House. On your left, you'll see a statue of John F. Kennedy, our youngest elected president. And behind him is a statue of Darth Vader, evil bad guy from Star Wars, scaring a small child. The West End was one of our most tightly knit communities. People lived here. The idea behind the museum was from a kid who grew up in this neighborhood who became an actor in Hollywood, a guy named Leonard Nimoy. You might know him from a popular TV show from the 1970s called In Search of. Also Star Trek. So he wanted to show off his community for the next generation. Woo! Welcome to the Charles River, everybody. I'm just gonna do a quick radio check-in with my parole officer. All right, we got a duck on the left. We got to yell quack quack, and everybody flex your arm. All right. Stay busy. We can do it. Convert for wait for it. All right. What's your name?
Carrie.
Hi, Carrie. Nice to see you. All right. Hold it steady. You got it, Carrie. Do you want to press that silver button by the window on your left? It was a yes or no question, Carrie. I was just wondering. Just kidding. Carrie, where are you from? What's your home address? California. All right. This bridge, by the way, is called the Henry Wadsworth Longfellow Bridge. He wrote a famous poem called Paul Revere's Ride. He also wrote another poem called The Bridge. I think that's why they named it after him. Now, your left, the statue is Samuel Adams, leader of the Sons of Liberty. Behind him is the Faneuil Hall. That's where he led many important discussions that would ultimately lead to the American Revolutionary War. We will see the old State House again. This time it'll be on our right. On the top of the building is the golden lion and a silver unicorn. The lion represents England, and the unicorn represents Narnia. Well, Graham Bell invented the telephone kind of as a happy accident. He was trying to create a different device because he was trying to make something that would help to communicate with the hearing impaired easier, because both his mother and his wife were deaf. But instead, he invented the telephone, which neither one of them could use. But his heart was in the right place. Post Office Square is where the first post office in America opened up. Of course, Franklin is known as one of our great founding fathers. He was more of a founding grandfather because he was a lot older than their typical founding fathers. But he's an inventor. He created bifocals for your glasses, the Franklin stove, the modern-day library system. He invented the lightning rod, the catheter lightning rod combination that was known as popular. He also invented the swim fins for your feet and hands, although not a lot of people use swim fins for the hands, harder to text. And he's a member of the Swimming Hall of Fame, which is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Our duck tour had come to an end, and now we are going to explore the streets of Boston.
We come across something that we have never seen, an ice cream museum.
The Bell and Hand Tavern was established in 1795 by Boston's last town crier, Jimmy Wilson. The tavern's name is a nod to the iconic handheld bell Wilson used to loudly announce local news.
Nearby is the house that Paul Revere lived in. In 1775, Paul Revere embarked on a historic midnight ride to warn American patriots that British troops were coming.
The next part of our journey is to Salem, Massachusetts. It's about a 30-minute ride north of Boston.
Here we are in Salem, Massachusetts, and we bring a little California with Bewitched.
We walk around town, and yes, it's a little touristy, but very charming. Except for these ghoulish fixtures. We find the Witch Dungeon Museum.
Seems like we're brought back in time to the 1600s. After a short reenactment of that period, we are taken to the dungeon below the stage.
In the year 1692, it was the site of the deadliest witch hunt in American history. It began with a young girl having screaming fits and throwing things. A doctor was unable to find a medical cause, so he recommended bewitchment.
What started with a few sick children ended in the executions of 20 innocent people.
We would highly recommend a visit to Salem and the birthplace of America, Boston. Thanks for watching American Travelers.